And so what's really important for me is to make sure that we don't just have a bunch of people around saying, that's a great idea. Yes, let's do it. Okay, I agree. You got to have the person that says, wait a minute.
Yeah.
If we do that, this is the risk. And I think we should maybe consider doing it this way or that way. You need to have the strategic, thoughtful dissenter. Otherwise, you're just going to end up just bowling down, head down, without thinking and questioning. So the strategic dissenter is really critical.
Great, guys. So we are live at the International Bulk Wine and Spirits Show in San Francisco, right here at the South San Francisco Conference Center. I have Sarah here with me. She's been leading this company and she's built a great company, have grown her wine sales. I'll have Sarah talk more about it. But what I really wanted to talk about with her is really on how she's motivating her team, how she's scaling the growth. And as a CEO, you know, how she manages her time and what are her high paying activities, what are her low paying activities, and how she's constantly every day auditing her time. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for joining me
here. Thanks for having me, Sid. I'm glad to be here.
Great. So why don't you give us a little context? You know, I heard that you said that you were not from the wine industry, but just give us a little backdrop story on how you ended up here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a recovering attorney. A lot of folks in the wine industry, Sid, it seems like, are recovering attorneys. We go on to do other things. Yeah. So I've been in the wine industry for about 7.5 years. Stout Cellar is about 5 years old, so I've been in my current role as CEO for about 5 years. We turn 5 next month. Have been a part of a fast-growing, disruptive, hard-to-scale business insofar as we're sourcing and producing a product that it's not a widget.
Nice.
You can't just snap your fingers and have it, right? You have to wait the prerequisite amount of time for it to be able to bring to market. So it's been quite a journey.
Super. And I think that journey is mainly empowered by your marketing and belief that that's your direct-to-consumer sort of philosophies that you have. I think it's mainly e-commerce as well, right? So it's what kind of volumes are we talking about? Just give us a little context on, you know, the case volumes and what your growth journey looked like.
Yeah, so we've grown pretty significantly over the last 5 years, fueled in large part by consumer demand for better for you, which has been really exciting. So we were kind of on the front end of that. And then COVID, of course, definitely fueled demand in 2020 and 2021. But you know, we've grown significantly over the last couple of years. I think last year we did about 400,000 cases.
400,000 cases, that's pretty good. And that's e-commerce.
E-commerce.
Wow, that's some good volume there. Leadership, right? Let's go there. In the morning, you know, would love to know your morning routine. Just, you know, do you have your an hour alone? And, you know, I can see that you're in fitness, I'm sure. So just walk us over how you stay mentally fit, how you stay physically fit, and how that helps you.
I think 3 things. I don't do them well necessarily,
okay.
But I think I do 3 things that help me to be a better leader every day. Number 1, I constantly learn. And so I read, I ask a lot of questions, I talk to people that have been down the journey that I've been down, and try to be able to get better and learn.
Okay.
Number 2, I exercise. It's really critical for my mental wellness.
Yep.
And just
in the morning or after the day?
It depends.
Okay.
Depends on what's going on. And then number 3, I spend time quietly thinking. I think in this day, I don't think we do enough of that.
True.
We're on our phones. We're doing the scroll thing. We're not just thinking.
And every day you spend some time in thinking without any distraction?
Every day I spend some time thinking. Now, don't think it's 2 hours of thinking time.
Maybe even 20 minutes.
Maybe it's 5 minutes. Some days.
Got it.
But thinking, reflecting, just in silence.
Got it. Cool. So just what do you think? You know, how do you reflect, and what are your self, motivation points?
I do 2 things. I do a gratitude journal.
Oh, nice.
And which is just write down a couple things that I'm grateful for.
Okay.
And then I think about what happened, what's happening, and where we're going, and how we're going to improve on it.
Fair enough.
Visualize it. I was an athlete growing up, and I was an athlete in college, and a big part of success in athletics is this visualization technique.
Yeah.
Where you visualize the thing that you want to happening.
Yep.
I do a lot of that.
That's amazing. I mean, I try to do it, and it's really, I understand that it's sometimes it's important that you yourself have to believe, and you can see that picture that you will be there. And I think that helps, people can see, your team can see that.
But then you have to communicate that vision.
True.
right?
Maybe I'm not
it's one
good
thing
at
for me
that.
to just sit there and visualize it, but if I
True.
don't communicate it
Yeah.
so that others can see it, then it doesn't do anything. So that's the other critical thing that helps it to actually be lived out.
True. So you said a few things, right? Like time, end of the day. You have to find time so that you can do all these things, which are super important as a CEO and a leader. How have you structured your team, like your right hand, left hand, your core people, because that's so important that they can allow you to execute and keep on thinking, because ultimately you are the person who's going to make a decision, right, to move forward. How have you structured, how are you playing this game? I personally love, to hang out with optimist, happy people, let's say. I would love to hang out with a super hardworking people, so I can mix and match and try to, give away my fires and get my optimism. How have you structured personally to, just make sure it's just for you, this thing?
You mean like at the organizational level or on the personal level?
Organizational, personal, whichever way, but I know that we all need some doses, which we take from people. So how is that working out for you?
I would answer that in a couple different ways. I think realistic optimism is always helpful in moving through challenging environments. So making sure that I have a lot of realistic optimists around, either as friends or family or in our leadership team. But I think perhaps the most important, the unsung hero, is the dissenter. I'm a lawyer, so I'm a recovering attorney, and you think about the dissenting opinion in a
meaning like someone's challenging your thing. Okay.
Let me finish my analogy. I think that we'll get there.
Got
so
it.
a dissenting opinion in a court case.
All right.
Like the dissent is the opinion by the judge that isn't agreeing with what the majority has ruled in that case.
All right.
And they're explaining why they don't agree. Oftentimes what happens as laws and things are considered in the courts as the world changes, that dissent becomes law and becomes the majority down the road. And so what's really important for me is to make sure that we don't just have a bunch of people around saying, that's a great idea. Yes, let's do it. Okay, I agree. You got to have the person that says, wait a minute.
Yeah.
If we do that, this is the risk, and I think we should maybe consider doing it this way or that way. You need to have the strategic, thoughtful dissenter. Otherwise, you're just going to end up just bowling down, head down, without thinking and questioning. So the strategic dissenter is really critical.
I agree with that. Most of the times, you want to give a good explanation to your, let's say, someone who's challenging or someone who, everyone's different, right? Like some people want a detailed explanation on why you and how you came to that decision, for example. Some may just agree with pure trust, like, okay, I trust my CEO, let's go, right? How much time do you spend in explaining like why and how you came to that decision? Or is it worth it or I mean, it's worth it, I understand, but sometimes, just think like, I have to explain everything again? Yes,
I think providing context is key to get buy-in.
Okay.
So context is key because it's empowering. It's telling everybody, whoever you're trying to inform, what's going on, why you've made the decision, and what the impact is, so that people that can maybe disagree or are on the fence, they can agree and commit.
Got it.
Context is key.
Super. I think one of the things which I've noticed in your company is there is a very similar branding and theme and a mission. It's just everyone has same character, even if your sales reps or your company. There's a good culture which we can see, right? How have you used this in a business way to make sure that you're constantly doing this for practical reasons like retention, hiring, empowering, motivating? Give us some examples on there.
So one of the things that's been really important to living that out loud and making it be a big part of our business is before we started the company, we sat down and wrote down what our core values were.
Okay.
We have 5 core values at Stout Cellar: family, doing the right thing, authenticity, transparency, and passion. And we make business decisions about them. When we're making an important decision as a leadership team, we think, is this really doing the right thing? Does this represent like full transparency in the way that we mean it? Like, is this a reflection of our passion towards this? And so we put it through the core value filter. Another thing that we do is to ensure that we have buy-in and consensus among, and we have employees and team members that are living these core values out loud, is we reward and recognize employees that exemplify the core values in the course of their job. We do that every month.
Got it. Perfect. What about hiring? How much are you involved? How much time do you spend on getting talent? Personally, right? Without the HR, like directly trying yourself, seeing who are the ninjas out there.
I'm involved in it to some extent. We've got an amazing HR team.
Okay.
But if the person is reporting into me or performing a pretty important company-wide function, I will be a part of the interview and review phase.
Got it. What kind of questions I would love to know you ask, personally, if it's for your team, right? What kind of characters are you looking for?
One of my favorite interview questions that I ask, I feel like I'm like telling you all my secrets. This
You
is
should,
great.
yeah, it's good.
One of my favorite interview questions
People will learn a lot.
that I ask is, tell me 3 things about your mom and your dad that you admire and that drive you crazy.
Love that question.
And the reason I ask that question is because it tells me what characteristics, what values that candidate holds high in an indirect way. Because if I ask you, like, what's important to you, what values are important to you, you're going to say integrity. Yeah. Performance and saying what you.
But that's good. Like how you say, like, what do you consume is more important. What are you looking to learn, right?
Yes.
Got it.
So that's one of my favorite interview questions. I also ask about what books they're reading.
Nice.
To see if they're learning, if they're focused on continuous learning.
Got it.
Curiosity and desire to learn and improve is really important. And so you ask that question to people that are like, okay.
How is this relevant? Yeah.
Right. And then sometimes just asking a hard question.
Like practical, like how you solve this?
What's 25 times 25?
Oh, okay.
Or what's 100 minus 75?
Interesting. All right.
That's not really a hard question.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
Got it. Yeah.
Like a hard random question, because what it does is I don't care about their math skills or a spelling question or something like that.
Got it.
I care about how they react in an unexpected, pressurized situation.
Fair enough. What does the first week of your new joinee look like? What kind of modules do you cover? How does the induction look like in your company?
As an employee?
Yes.
So day 1 is coming in. You get assigned a buddy.
Okay.
That's outside of your team.
All right.
That can kind of show you around, take you to lunch. And you have we have an indoctrination process with HR where they tell you all about Stout and Cellar, the core values. There's a welcome video from me. If I'm in the office where they're being great, I'll go in and say hello. And then they begin training with their teams. And then there's a facility tour that week as well, so they can go see all of our different facilities in the area.
Okay. And how often do you do personally, like all heads meeting? What do you cover in that? And just with your own core team as well, would love to know a weekly meeting. How that looks like, and what do you kind of cover? What are your team's KPIs for you?
So that's lots wrapped up in that question. So
Got it.
Monthly we do an all hands company meeting.
Yep.
And we celebrate company wins. We have quarterly, we call them ROCs, but they're quarterly company objectives and departmental objectives, and so we report on how we're doing on those. We talk about what's coming down the pike for the next month. We celebrate employee anniversaries, we recognize new employees, and we celebrate the core value winners.
Nice. And that's for your all-in meeting, right?
All employees.
And what about your weekly with your 5 or 6 direct reports?
Leadership. We have a weekly leadership meeting.
Okay.
It's very structured. We use EOS, which is an acronym for Entrepreneurial Operating System.
Nice.
So our leadership meeting is structured using that platform, and so it's where we come together. We look at key metrics. We celebrate some wins. And then we identify and solve issues, and then are accountable for certain to-dos.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So just one last one. I think I would love to know, you want to roll out some things, right? Like as you said, you do all these things. You have this, you have your own way as a CEO to make sure this company is growing and scaling and things are happening. How do you stay on? How do you make it happen? For example, you have, what I mean? Like you have one person who's just a doer with you directly. Then you can't go everywhere, right? Like you told someone, okay, Wednesday next July, this is the all-in meeting. I want to go through these points. Sarah, please remind me or something. How do you execute and get on?
Well, it starts with,
I don't even know if this is a question, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. How do we execute and get things done? By hiring and informing and having the best people.
Got it.
That really sounds kind of cliche, but that's the macro level answer.
Yeah.
On the micro level, I have an amazing EA that's been with me for 3 years that makes sure that I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Let's say, do you have to do a lot of follow-ups when you give a task to your team?
No.
Okay, so how do you give a task? Let's say, because that means it's good. You're delegating it in a very good way. So how do you do it?
I usually do it in the course of a process, like a leadership meeting,
okay.
Or another task force or another process that's going on. If it's a one-off, then I'll send an email. Okay. And it gets done.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Usually.
It's
unless
amazing.
it can't be done, and then we figure out why.
Got it. Anything else you would want to add, for the entrepreneurs trying to build a great company? What are the 3 or 4 things that a CEO should focus on, and especially, which you've noticed that are high-paying activities, and you should not focus on some of the activities which people are doing?
Yeah, I mean, I recently finished Andy Grove's book, High Output Management.
Yeah, I've read that.
And he says in there that the output of a manager is the output of the organization under his or her influence. And so by thinking about that, it constantly has you reframe and question the activities that you're doing throughout the day. Is this a maximum leverage activity? Like, am I maximizing the output of my team by this activity or not? So I try to put all of my activities through that filter and empower my leaders to do the same, so that we're creating the highest leverage work that we can do. But what 3 or 4 things would I offer to entrepreneurs that are starting or in the process of a company? I think number 1, know where you are, know where you're trying to go with it, and communicate it. The number 1 job of a CEO is to cast vision. And there's some age-old thing out there that says for somebody to retain something that you tell them, you have to tell them 7 times. And so you might feel like you're a broken record, but as the CEO, you have to communicate your vision 7 times to each person all the time for them to really understand and get bought into it. And that's one of the most important things I can say. I think also being a CEO is an ultimate leadership position, and good leaders, in my opinion, have 2 important characteristics. They're highly self-aware, high self-awareness. So that involves gratitude, humility, being cognizant of the tone of your voice, and the importance and the levity of your words, and how those impact others. Being highly self-aware is incredibly important to be successful in this role. Number 2, you got to have a lot of resiliency, because every single day, more things go wrong than go right, and you got to be able to get through them and get better from them. I think number 3, failure is embracing failure as an opportunity to improve, because we never improve when we win. We only can best improve when we lose. And so leaning in and leveraging that. So those are some 3 high-level tips.
Super.